The trauma of World War I, the ruthlessness of street gangs, and add a dash of political ambition characterize Peaky Blinders. It's simply the story of the Shelby family's rise from Birmingham bookmakers to Westminster power players. How did a man like Thomas Shelby, haunted by the trenches and addicted to opium, manage to outmaneuver everyone from local gangsters to Winston Churchill himself? And at what cost to his family and his soul? Over the next 25 minutes, I'll take you through the entire bloody journey of the Peaky Blinders, from the stolen guns of Season 1 to Tommy's final redemption. Series 1, The Beginning, 1919. Welcome to Birmingham, England, 1919. The First World War has just ended, and the industrial city is a smoky wasteland where everything seems to be on fire. This harsh landscape is home to the Peaky Blinders gang, led by the Shelby family. Thomas Shelby heads this family of gangsters who mostly make their money fixing horse races. Tommy's not alone. His older brother Arthur is the hot-headed loose cannon. Younger brother John is the loyal soldier. Sister Ada wants nothing to do with the family business. And Aunt Polly Gray kept everything running while the boys were fighting in France. The real Peaky Blinders weren't what you might expect. Their name came from the practice of sewing razor blades into their flat caps, which they'd use to blind enemies by slashing their foreheads. At least that's the legend, though historically, the disposable razor blade wasn't widely available until after their time. The truth is probably less glamorous. They just wore their caps peaked to one side as a fashion statement. The story kicks off when Tommy accidentally steals a crate of guns during what should have been a routine robbery. These aren't just any guns. They're military-grade machine guns meant for Libya. The theft catches the attention of Winston Churchill himself, who sends Chief Inspector Campbell to Birmingham to recover them. Campbell is brutal, corrupt, and willing to do whatever it takes. He immediately suspects three possible culprits: the Peaky Blinders, communist agitators like Freddie Thorne, and the IRA. To help with his investigation, Campbell plants an undercover agent in the Garrison pub, a watering hole owned by the Shelbys. Enter Grace Burgess, a seemingly innocent Irish barmaid with a secret. She's working for Campbell. Her father was killed by the IRA, so her mission is personal. But things get complicated when she develops genuine feelings for Tommy, and he for her. Meanwhile, Tommy's fixing races puts him on a collision course with Billy Kimber, the current king of the racetracks. Tommy has a plan, though. He deliberately starts a war with the Lee family, a rival Romani gang, knowing that Billy Kimber is also at war with them. Tommy then positions the Peaky Blinders as Kimber's allies against a common enemy. Classic divide and conquer. Family drama intensifies when Ada reveals she's pregnant with Freddie Thorne's baby. Tommy initially wants Freddie dead, but eventually gives them permission to marry. Arthur's estranged father returns, cons him out of a large sum of money, and leaves again, sending Arthur spiraling into depression. John announces plans to marry local prostitute Lizzie Stark, but Tommy sabotages this by hiring Lizzie himself, proving she hasn't left her old profession. Tommy instead arranges for John to marry Esme Lee, daughter of the rival Lee family, creating an alliance that strengthens both families against Billy Kimber. The season builds to a showdown with Kimber, who attacks the Shelby's territory while most of the men are away. Despite being outnumbered, the Peaky Blinders win when Tommy puts a bullet in Kimber's head. As for Grace, she falls in love with Tommy for real and betrays Campbell, telling him where the guns are but asking for Tommy's safety in return. Campbell, who has developed his own obsession with Grace, confronts her at gunpoint as she waits to flee with Tommy. A shot rings out, but we don't see who gets hit. Series 2, Expansion, 1921 to 1922. 2 years later, we learn Grace shot Campbell in the leg and escaped to America, where she married a wealthy man. Tommy is now focused on expanding the Peaky Blinders empire to London, putting him in direct conflict with Italian gangster Darby Sabini. To strengthen his position, Tommy forms an alliance with Alfie Solomons, played by the scene-stealing Tom Hardy. Solomons runs a Jewish gang from his bakery, which is really a distillery, and speaks in bizarre, rambling monologues that somehow make perfect sense. The alliance helps the Peaky Blinders gain a foothold in London. Back in Birmingham, we see the deeper effects of war on the Shelby men. Arthur's PTSD leads to cocaine addiction and increasingly violent outbursts. The addiction helps numb his pain, but makes him dangerously unpredictable. During one cocaine-fueled episode, he beats a young man to death in the boxing ring. Tommy also reconnects with Campbell, who survived Grace's shot. Working for Winston Churchill, Campbell forces Tommy to carry out assassinations of Irish revolutionaries. If Tommy's caught, it would look like gang violence rather than a government operation. Holly's storyline takes center stage when she reunites with her long-lost son, Michael, who was taken from her by child services years ago. Michael quickly joins the family business as an accountant, much to Polly's dismay. She wanted a better life for him away from crime. Grace returns to Birmingham, revealing she's pregnant with Tommy's child despite being married to an American. Tommy also begins a relationship with May Carlton, a wealthy horse trainer, creating a love triangle. The season climaxes on Derby Day when Tommy must complete his final assassination for the British government while also taking down Sabini's betting operation. The Peaky Blinders successfully take control of Sabini's territory, but Campbell arranges for Tommy to be kidnapped and executed afterward. Just when it seems Tommy's luck has run out, one of his kidnappers turns on the others, telling him Winston Churchill wants him alive. Meanwhile, Polly gets her revenge by shooting Campbell dead. Series 3, Legitimate Business, 1924. Series 3 opens with Tommy marrying Grace, who has left her American husband. They have a son named Charles, and the Shelbys are now legitimately wealthy. The wedding celebrations are interrupted by business. Tommy's meeting with Russian exiles who want to hire him for a job. The Russian aristocrats need weapons for a counter-revolution and want Tommy to steal them from the British government. This scheme involves Winston Churchill and a creepy organization called Section D, fronted by a pedophile priest named Father Hughes. Tommy's happiness is short-lived. When Italian gangster Vicente Changretta seeks revenge against the Shelbys for burning his son's restaurant, he orders an attack during a charity event. Grace is shot and killed, sending Tommy into a spiral of grief and vengeance. The Russian weapons deal becomes increasingly complicated. Tommy learns Section D is deliberately leaking information to the Soviets, hoping to provoke an international incident. Tommy plans to double-cross everyone. He'll steal jewels from the Russians, sabotage the weapons, and inform the Soviets about the plot. Father Hughes complicates matters by kidnapping Tommy's son, Charles, to force his compliance. Michael Gray reveals Hughes molested him as a child and volunteers to kill him. When the plan goes sideways, Tommy must blow up a train as promised while also pulling off a jewel heist and saving his son. In the end, Michael kills Hughes and rescues Charles, while Arthur and John blow up the train. The plan works, but at the season finale, Tommy reveals to his shocked family that they're all about to be arrested. He assures them he has a plan to get them released, but the season ends with everyone except Tommy being led away in handcuffs. Series 4, Family at War, 1925 to 1926. Series 4 opens with the Shelbys about to be hanged for their crimes. At the last second, Tommy secures their release by blackmailing the Crown with evidence linking Winston Churchill to the Russian plot. A year later, the traumatized family members have separated and tried to leave crime behind. Tommy remains in Birmingham, running legitimate businesses but still involved in some illegal activities. His personal assistant is now Lizzie Stark, who still occasionally provides sexual services. On Christmas of 1925, each Shelby receives a Black Hand letter from Luca Changretta, son of Vicente. He's now a powerful New York mafioso, come to avenge his father's death by killing every Shelby. To prove he's serious, his men gunned down John and seriously wound Michael. This threat reunites the family. Tommy hires deadly hitman Aberama Gold, played by Aidan Gillen, to help fight the mafia. Gold agrees in exchange for his boxer son Bonnie getting Peaky Blinders protection and promotion. To gain an edge, Tommy sets up a boxing match between Bonnie and a fighter managed by Alfie Solomons. In a devastating betrayal, Alfie makes a deal with Changretta to have Tommy killed at the match. The plan fails, but Arthur appears to be killed in the chaos. Tommy calls for a meeting with Changretta, seemingly accepting defeat. But it's actually a trap. Arthur is alive, having faked his death, and kills Changretta in an ambush. Tommy then confronts Alfie about his betrayal. Alfie reveals he has cancer and wanted Tommy to kill him. Tommy obliges, shooting him in the face and leaving him for dead. The season ends with Tommy entering politics, winning an election to become the Member of Parliament for Birmingham South. He also marries Lizzie after she becomes pregnant with his child. Series 5, Politics and Power, 1929. Series 5 jumps ahead to October 1929, the time of the Wall Street crash. The Shelby Company loses millions because Michael, now running their American operation, ignored Tommy's order to sell their stocks before the crash. Michael returns to Birmingham with his new American wife Gina, who clearly has her own agenda. Rumors spread that Michael plans to take over the family business, though he denies it. Tommy also faces a new enemy in Scottish gang leader Jimmy McCavern and his Billy Boys, who brutally kill Aberama Gold's son, Bonnie. As an MP, Tommy begins meeting with fascist politician Oswald Mosley. Though disgusted by Mosley's views, Tommy pretends to join his movement to gather intelligence for Winston Churchill. The political storyline reflects the rise of fascism in Europe during the 1930s. The Shelbys start smuggling opium with Chinese gangster Chang to recover their financial losses. Ada, now pregnant from a relationship with Colonel Ben Younger, has grown into a powerful member of the family. Arthur's marriage to Linda falls apart when she leaves him for another man. At a family meeting, Michael proposes restructuring the company with himself in charge and Tommy semi-retired. Tommy rejects this hostile takeover, throwing the proposal in the fire and banishing Michael and Gina. Tommy plots to assassinate Mosley at a fascist rally, enlisting his old army comrade Barney and, surprisingly, a still-alive Alfie Solomons, who survived being shot in the face. The plan goes catastrophically wrong when someone leaks information to Mosley's allies. Barney is killed before he can take the shot, and Aberama Gold is murdered while trying to avenge his son by killing Jimmy McCavern. The season ends with Tommy in complete despair, holding a gun to his head in a field, hallucinating his dead wife Grace, urging him to join her. Series 6, the final chapter, 1933 to 1934. The final series reveals Tommy didn't pull the trigger. He learns the IRA sabotaged his assassination attempt and killed Polly as punishment for plotting against Mosley. Michael blames Tommy for his mother's death and vows revenge. 4 years pass and Tommy is living soberly on an island, planning his final moves. He arranges an opium deal with Michael's wife's uncle, Jack Nelson, an American gangster with fascist leanings. When Michael agrees to take the proposal to Jack, Tommy betrays him to the police, getting him arrested. Tommy's daughter Ruby falls ill with tuberculoma, a form of tuberculosis. Despite seeking help from John's Romani widow Esme, Ruby dies. Shortly after, Tommy is diagnosed with the same illness and told he has only 18 months to live. Esme reveals that Tommy has an illegitimate son named Duke, whom he welcomes into the family. Tommy wants Duke to take over the criminal side of the business while his other son, Charlie, leads a legitimate life. Tommy continues his crusade against fascism, meeting with Mosley, Nelson, and Mosley's fiancée, Diana Mitford. He relays information about their support for Hitler to Churchill. Diana seduces Tommy to secure a business deal, leading Lizzie to leave him when she discovers the affair. As Tommy prepares for death, the final confrontations begin. Michael is released from prison by Jack Nelson on the condition he kill Tommy. Tommy anticipates the assassination attempt and kills Michael first, fulfilling Polly's prophecy that one of them would die. Tommy tasks Duke with dealing with Billy Grade, who betrayed the family by leaking information about the Mosley assassination. When Finn refuses to execute his friend, Duke does it himself and expels Finn from the family. Meanwhile, Arthur, now sober after years of addiction, defeats the IRA leader Captain Swing, avenging Polly's death. Before departing for what he believes are his final days, Tommy encourages Ada to pursue a political career. A month later, while preparing to die in seclusion, Tommy has a vision of his daughter Ruby that makes him question his diagnosis. He discovers his doctor is friends with the fascists and fabricated the terminal illness to prevent Tommy from killing Mosley. In the final scene, Tommy spares the doctor's life, burns his wagon, symbolically cutting ties with his past, and rides away on a white horse, finally free of the life that has haunted him for so long. There's no doubt that Peaky Blinders created a lasting cultural impact that extends far beyond television. More importantly, it gave us complex characters who defied simple categorization. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who was your most favorite character in the show? Is there a plot twist that you really loved? What legacy do you think this show left? Please share your thoughts in the comments.